Hello, welcome as we continue these mini Bible studies. Today is Tuesday, July the 14th, and today we will take up a discussion. No, it's not really a discussion. My reflections. You don't get to chime in, well, not so that I can hear you. You can chime in all you want. I just won't know what you're saying. So today we'll look at Psalm number 86, verses 11 through 17. I will read that for you. If you have it in front of you, you may follow along. Teach me your way, O Lord, and I will walk in your truth. Give me an undivided heart to revere your name. I will thank you, O Lord my God, with all my heart, and glorify your name forever. For great is your love toward me. You have delivered me from the pit of death. The arrogant rise up against me, O God, and a band of violent people seeks my life. They have not set before you their eyes. But you, O Lord, are gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger, and full of kindness and truth. Turn to me and have mercy on me. Give your strength to your servant, and save the child of your handmaid. Show me a sign of your favor, so that those who hate me may see it and be put to shame, because you, Lord, have helped me and comforted me. So this psalm presents itself as a prayer/song of an individual. And some consider it to be one piece of work that has copy errors that have been made over time as scribe after scribe after scribe makes another copy of this portion of the psalm or the book of Psalms. And some consider it rather to be a compilation of different verses taken from a variety of other Hebrew scriptures, or maybe even a variety of other traditions' wisdom writings. And that's not unlike what we talked about when we talked about the book of Proverbs before all of this pandemic started. So choosing just this section for the reading on Sunday may make the psalm feel kind of like it's even more disjointed. Given the clumsy division of this section of the psalm for our Sunday's readings, we may want to mostly concentrate on the relationship aspect of this between the person, the psalmist, and the Lord. And notice in this psalm, Lord is in all capital letters, which usually signifies Yahweh. Again, as we talked about yesterday in the reflections on Isaiah, Yahweh is the personal name of God that he gave to Moses during the meeting he had with Moses at the burning bush. So 7 times in this psalm, the psalmist refers to Lord, Yahweh, as my Lord, while 3 times the psalmist refers to himself as your servant. This relationship, Lord to servant, means that the servant can cry out to his Lord during times of distress, and that the servant can confidently expect a positive response to his cry to the Lord. In other words, the Lord will answer, as it says in verse 7. He states this very confidently. The Lord will answer because he, the individual, the psalmist, belongs to the people who know the character of this God. And the character of this God is that the Lord, Yahweh, is good, forgiving, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love. God, Yahweh, has spoken to this servant, or at the least to God's people in the past. One commentator says that verse 12 in this text for today is a response to the declaration of Exodus chapter 20, verse 2, which I'm sure everyone knows is where we get the 10 Commandments. And that verse specifically says, I am the Lord your God. Because of the personal relationship, the psalmist can call boldly to God, confident both of God's goodwill and God's power to help. On the one hand, the psalmist is the member of the community that is describing itself as poor and needy. On the other hand, Yahweh is able to keep them from Sheol. In the Old Testament sense, that meant keep them from dying, keep them from death. Again, the psalmist knows himself to be a devout person who trusts God to respond to his call for help. So that close personal relationship is the foundation for faith. If the sincere trust of this servant of the Lord serves as a model for us, the one he repeatedly addresses as my Lord also deserves our praise. If we knew nothing more about this God than what is presented in this entire psalm, we would still know quite a lot. The Lord answers prayers. More so, the Lord Yahweh is known by a character that is good, forgiving, and abounding in steadfast love. A God who, both in the past and in this individual's experience, the psalmist's experience, is known to be merciful, gracious, slow to anger, and again, abounding in steadfast love. The Lord, Yahweh, can deliver us from the gates of Sheol, from death itself. This Lord strengthens and saves us. This Lord's wondrous works distinguish God as the only God worthy of praise, a circumstance that will ultimately be recognized by all nations who shall come, bow down, and glorify the name that is above every other name. The psalm praises the exact Lord who has been fully revealed to us in Jesus Christ. Added to the psalmist's praise and thanks, however, is a fervent petition, an asking, which we find in verse 15, to the effect that the psalmist might be instructed, given instructions to live according to the grace that has been poured out upon her or him. Verse 15 says, "Teach me your way, O Lord, that I may walk in your truth. Give me an undivided heart to revere your name." The psalmist longs for an undivided heart. If you've been in my prayer or my Bible studies before, if you've listened to any of my sermons before, you may have heard me mention that this undivided heart is the place of the will. So this prayer is for a heart that concentrates our own affections in order that God's name might be revered properly and entirely. Again, Hebrew anthropology generally credited the heart, not the head, the heart, with rational decision making, that is, obedience to the will of God. This petition in verse 15 summons us to a devotion that is intellectually and willfully engaged and thoroughly concentrated on God. Whether or not this psalm was originally a single composition, the movement from petition in verses 1 through 7 to praise in verses 8 through 13, and actual faith let me start that over again. Whether or not this psalm is originally as a single composition, this movement, it starts out with a petition in verses 1 through 7, And then it moves to praise in verses 8 through 13, and then back again to a cry for deliverance in verses 14 through 17. And this reflects an actual faith journey for people, where most of us can find ourselves in that section, one of those three sections, at some point in our lives. This simply describes the movement from desperate hope to confident praise, and then sometimes back again to pleading hope that may by itself serve as good news for any of us who sometimes find our hearts are divided. Sometimes we are fearful, and other times we are confident. Thank you for joining me today as we continue this journey toward the seventh Sunday after Pentecost, July 19th, 2020. Have a blessed day. Take care. See you next time.